Letty's room. Letty Campbell's world shrank the day the latch went on. The room itself had never been much to begin with, just a small square space at the back of the house, tucked away at the end of the hall. It had been a storage room once, long before the Campbells had too many children and not enough space. When Letty was little, she had shared a room with Mary, but as she grew older and stranger, Thomas moved her here, said she needed quiet, needed to be separate. The irony of that didn't escape anyone when the door was locked for good. The room had a single window, but it was small, narrow, with warped glass that made the outside world look distorted, as if it wasn't even real. At first, Letty spent hours sitting by it, forehead pressed against the cold pane, watching the sky shift from dawn to dusk. But the window was nailed shut, and after a while, she stopped looking outside at all. The walls were bare, save for the marks that she made with her fingernails. Scratches, little indentations, patterns only she understood. In the beginning, they had tried to give her things: a Bible, a few old dolls, a quilt for the winter. But as the months passed, one by one, the items disappeared. The Bible was found ripped apart in the corner, the dolls abandoned, their eyes gouged out, as if they had seen something too terrible to witness. The quilt lasted the longest, but eventually that was reduced to little more than shreds. By the end, all she had was the bed, an old, sagging thing pushed against the far wall. The mattress smelled of sweat and dust and time. She was given food, slipped in once a day, a tin plate of cornbread or boiled potatoes, whatever was left from supper. Most of the time she ate, but there were days, whole stretches of them, where the plate remained untouched, the food growing cold, the bread hardening at the edges. No one knew what she did all day. They heard her sometimes, the soft creak of the floorboards as she paced in slow, looping circles, the scratch of her nails against the wood, or the faint murmur of her voice, whispering to no one. Abigail still dreamed about that sound. She had tried once to listen through the door, to make sense of the words, to understand what her daughter was saying, but all she heard was nonsense. A jumble of sounds, words in no language she recognized, and then the laughing, soft at first, a giggle, then louder and louder, until it was full-bodied, shaking, and uncontrollable. A laugh that didn't sound like Letty at all. And that was the last time Abigail ever pressed her ear to the door. As for bathing, there was none. At first, Abigail had tried to keep some sense of routine. She would bring in a basin and a rag and try to clean Letty herself. But Letty hated it. She would thrash, shriek, and claw at Abigail's hands. One time she bit her. She bit her hard enough to break skin and to leave a wound that took weeks to heal. After that, Abigail just stopped trying, stopped forcing it, stopped going into the room at all. By the end, Letty barely looked human anymore. Her skin was sallow, her hair a tangled mess that stretched down her back. Her fingernails had grown long, cracked, and sharpened from years of scratching at the walls. And her eyes, God, her eyes. They no longer held anything of the girl she had once been. She never left that room, not once. Not until the day Abigail carried her cold, lifeless body down the stairs.